The Jedi were so concerned that Anakin Skywalker was going to fall to the dark side that he fell to the dark side anyways.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Rupees Over Ramen, the show where we talk about animation, creativity, the creative process, and tons of other nerdy stuff. Every character in this series has amazing character development. Even Chopper, like he goes from this like really annoying kind of always, he's kind of like sassy, I guess. Later in the series, when some really emotional stuff happens, he's there like comforting Hera and like some of the other members. Ezra goes off on his own and Chopper sneaks aboard the ship so that he can be with him and so that he's not alone. And so it's just, it's pretty cool.
That's cool. I love how like we're just getting every single character that you see on screen and getting a backstory every year. There's like, I don't know, this is probably not relevant, but like there's like this fan page somewhere of the ice cream guy from Star Wars. Where he's like,
I remember him.
Ice cream bucket from episode. So for your listeners or viewers, in episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back on Cloud City, like in the hallway as pandemonium is spreading and the people are freaking out that the Empire is going to take over. There's like this one guy carrying like a tub and it looks like an ice cream bucket and he's just running around and there's like an actual action figure of him somewhere and he's just running around and there's people like who go to Comic Cons who dress up as him. But I just love like that's just like symbolizing like how like every single character gets its own story and stuff. There's not very many franchises do that to their characters.
It's true. Yeah. There's like this big fan base and
or tie-ins and things like that.
Yeah. So it's pretty sweet. And one thing that I didn't realize until I was like doing some research and stuff into it is like this characters and like the ideas. I guess the ghost, like the ship that they fly, shows up in Rogue One. It's like when they're attacking, it like shows up there and actually shows up. There's no sequels that exist, but it shows up in those unexisting sequels, like in the last battle.
Yeah, I remember seeing it in the background.
Yeah, so it's really it's really cool, like how you can see that a lot of people care and like they want to include all of these different parts of the story and all of these different things that have been a part of it together. So it's pretty sweet. And I was looking through the voice actors of this show, and I was like, what the heck? Because I knew James Earl Jones is like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't know is it was his last time voicing Darth Vader before.
Really?
Yeah. Before he gave away basically the rights to recreate his voice, which I didn't realize that they had started doing that, but I guess it makes sense. He's getting pretty old.
Yeah. He actually passed away last year.
Oh, yeah. Dang. What?
Yeah.
No, he was, I don't know if you know this, but he was also in, this is going to be like, there's a Tall Tales animated movie where I had like Paul Bunyan and like Johnny Appleseed and John Henry. And he was the narrator for that.
That's so cool.
That's what I first knew him.
I think he's done other projects. I think like what you said, he had narrated that. He's been Mufasa. He's narrated.
Oh yeah.
I wonder if he's narrated some documentaries, just because he has that deep, rich voice. And I think there's like a Bible he narrated at one point as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Beautiful voice.
That's super cool. I'll run through some of these voice actors. Jason Isaacs was the Grand Inquisitor. So he's the one who plays Lucius Malfoy in Harry Potter.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So I was like, what the heck? They should have had him play the Grand Inquisitor in like live action. I think that would have been cool to see that.
Yeah, that would have made sense.
Yeah. They actually did that with a lot of the characters I haven't seen it yet, but for the Ahsoka Tano show, like Lars Mikkelsen, he's like the brother of Mads Mikkelsen, played Thrawn. He's like the blue guy, and he plays the live action version of him as well. And then like D. Bradley Baker, he voices Captain Rex and all of the clone troopers in the Star Wars, and he actually voices all of the main characters in the Bad Batch, which is crazy. Like he does just different voices for each of them and gives them each
he's just constantly talking to himself.
Yeah. I just imagine like the voice acting sessions, like voice recording sessions, he's just in the booth just with his script talking to himself. Yeah, man, what do you think? He's like, yeah, that sounds good. Let's go save her.
That's gotta be an acting achievement right there.
Yeah.
Being able to voice multiple characters. You can't do it all at once, but understanding the emotion behind each character and then responding to the other characters you voiced. That's gotta be really, really incredible.
Yeah, no, it is pretty amazing. So yeah, he's super cool. Another one, Hondo Onaka, which he's in other Star Wars stuff too.
Yeah.
So you may
I've
have heard
his
of him.
voice so many times in different things. I've heard his voice for like, I don't know if you remember the old trailers on like the Disney VHS tapes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I remember hearing his voice on some of those. Coming soon to VHS or whatever.
The original Star Wars trilogy on video. One last time.
Yeah, Hondo Onaka, there's a character in Star Wars and he's voiced by Jim Cummings. He voiced Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, so it's like kind of ridiculous because in the Star Wars movie in Rebels, he's like this like pirate captain. He's always like out for himself and like trying to
questionable morals.
Yep, exactly. Dante Bosco voices Jai Kell. He's only in a couple of episodes. He voiced, for people who don't know, he voiced Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Yeah, so and people wanted him to be the live action Jai Kell because Jai Kell was in Ahsoka Tano, but they decided to choose someone younger. It makes sense. But
so I'm not familiar with Jai Kell. Who is the character?
So I had to look him up because I couldn't quite remember him. He lives on Lothal. He's a Lothalian. And I think Ezra meets him he pretends to be a cadet, like at this academy, like the Star Wars, not Star Wars, like an Empire academy, like training for the Empire. And he's one of the students that he trains with.
So he ends up being a good guy.
Yeah, he ends up being a good guy. Yeah.
Okay. Getting good guy vibes from the photos.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask you, if you were to recommend someone the order of watching Star Wars, whether it be shows, books, comics, movies, how would you go about it, or how would you recommend someone?
Yeah, no, that's interesting.
To understand the depth and the story and the characters the best.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't know the exact order off the top of my head, but I would definitely include the animated Star Wars stuff. Like I would watch it chronologically. So I think that would probably start with episode 1. I don't know if they've done any animated stuff that happens before episode 1.
I don't think they have. It's just some games and stuff.
Yeah, they have some games and
The Acolyte, but we're not going to talk about that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. Yeah, I think chronologically would be really cool to watch it in that way, especially with the animated series and stuff. I wonder if someone's put a list together like that. So you'd kind of like the rough version of it, you'd probably be like episode like 1, 2, and 3, and then there's a lot of like stuff that happens kind of around 3 and before 4, like Rogue One, that movie. I actually really love the movie and just like the direction of like the filmmaking, and yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. But then also the shows like Clone Wars and Rebels and The Bad Batch, because I feel like it just gives you like this really cool like depth to everything. Yeah,
I agree. And there's another way to watch it as well. And actually, Sam Witwer, the actor for Darth Maul, he recommended this method. I saw a video where someone was asking him a similar question of, how would you recommend your child to first get introduced to Star Wars? He said, I would first have my kids start out with watching the Clone Wars entirely, just so that they're not going to see Anakin turn to the dark side, but they're going to see Anakin in his best role possible, where he's struggling, he's a character, you love him, and then have your child watch episodes, try not to make it confusing, but like start with the Clone Wars, then with like the Bad Batch and Tales of the Jedi, things like that. But then watch episode 4 and then 5. And then once the kid sees Darth Vader tell Luke, no, I am your father, it just hits differently. It's like, wait, like the kid, your child is going to be like, you're going to be on the side of Luke Skywalker, where you're like, no, that's impossible. I remember Anakin, like he was a great guy. And then that's when you can start watching the prequels.
Oh, interesting.
And then you watch episode 6 and you're like, oh my gosh. This character has fallen, and it's just that'd be interesting.
It would be kind of like this like flashback almost, like going back to the prequels.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see like how like George Lucas put a lot of thought into his characters, and he also gave guidance to Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau on figuring out which direction to go with some of the shows. So it's interesting, like there's just a lot of depth that they just keep adding more and more and more, and it just gets crazier and crazier. The hard thing about becoming a new fan of Star Wars is like, where do you even start?
Yeah, no,
so
it's true.
If you're a new fan, or if you're someone who just has no idea where to start, you could just start with release order or order of release. Start with just like episode 4. There's dozens of timelines online. If you just Google like, how should I watch Star Wars? There's going to be lots of things. But personally, I think just watching it just in release order, it should be fine and you'll understand the story very well. Episode 4 is like the go-to basic episode to go with.
Yeah. I think that would be a good one to start with. I've always thought about like some like super weird orders, like trying to watch them backwards or something.
Yeah, there's this one YouTube video I saw where like this guy's like, how to watch Star Wars in the worst way possible. Start with like episode 6 so that you are so confused or something like that. Or start with the Acolyte, or start with the Book of Boba Fett or something like that.
Like, what is this? Why do people like this? This like
where are we?
Yeah, man. Yeah, the Book of Boba Fett. Sadly, that it didn't really hit very well, except for the episode with the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
that one was good. It's interesting, like with the Clone Wars, because that's something that I've heard with Anakin. You see this totally like you see the good side of him. Because one thing I never like always bothered me with the prequels is you go from episode 1, and Anakin's like this little kid who like he loves flying ships and stuff, and he's like rebuilding this droid, and he goes off to be a Jedi. And then like episode 2, he's like kind of like emo kid and isn't caring at all really anymore. And I don't know, like I don't see the transition between those two characters. So it's really cool to see in Clone Wars. You can see like the relationship that he has with Obi-Wan and how he's this mentor to Ahsoka. And yeah,
that's the one thing we're missing is that timeline. There's books and stuff, but no one really reads the books a lot of the time. But like there's that timeline, like you said, that's missing between episode 1 and 2, where we're trying to understand, because a lot of people like to focus on like the Clone Wars between episode 3 and 4, and then like the sequels and stuff. But yeah, we're missing the aspect of like why is Anakin kind of struggling, and also Palpatine's like trying to like prepare him to be his next apprentice. We're being told in the story like, oh, Anakin's the most powerful Jedi ever. But like we don't really get to see it a whole lot of like why Palpatine found him to be so interesting, why he's being called the chosen one, and a lot of his like deep personal experiences. So I think having an animated show about like young Anakin or Padawan Anakin could be interesting. Maybe like 1 season 6 episode thing could be be helpful to understand like where Anakin's coming from.
Yeah, no, I think that would be really cool, especially since this style that we were talking about that's been used for Clone Wars, Rebels, Bad Batch has come so far. Like you could really make a really cool, compelling cinematic story about Anakin.
We could also like see the good side of Anakin, because I feel like there's a lot of focus on like him foreshadowing to go to the dark side. But I think maybe seeing the hopeful side of him, like the good parts at this point in time, we're talking about between episode 1 and 2, where he's a Jedi Knight. He's learning about the core values of being a Jedi and how that influences a person deeply and how that affects the world around him.
Yeah.
So I think that could be really interesting. And here's another thing. Here's the antithesis. I think Disney's missing out on a lot of great ideas, but a Kylo Ren animated show. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes.
Yes.
I feel like there was so much missed with Kylo Ren, especially like the Knights of Ren. I wish they would have done more with that. There's actually like a weird, I think it's like a Halloween Lego Star Wars special where they make up this story for the Knights of Ren. And it's interesting. Kind of crazy, but interesting. And like how they came to like the temple or like the area where Kylo was training and started just terrorizing the people there and stuff. And yeah, so I think especially him being the son of Leia and Han Solo. There's so much more that they could have given him in his story.
I think that could be Tales of the Dark Side. I think that could have so much potential. Having Tales of the Dark Side, where the focus is on Kylo Ren and see him train with Luke in like the first few episodes, but then fall to the dark side. There's actually a comic book series about Kylo Ren, and I've been following it. I haven't read any of it, but I've seen YouTube videos about it. But like you see Kylo Ren being influenced by Snoke, because like we're missing some of that as well. So like just release that along with Tales of the Light Side with like Anakin Skywalker, his young days. And then you see the opposite, where like Kylo Ren's interpreting everything Anakin Skywalker did in a twisted way. You get to see, because like I feel like Ben Solo or Kylo Ren, he's probably the most in-depth character in the sequel trilogy.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think having a show of him could be really interesting and really fascinating to a lot of people. And then we could have a little bit, maybe more, it could definitely make Disney look really good, especially like spinning a positive light on the sequel trilogy, especially people who find that to be nostalgic now, 10 years
Yeah.
later
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
the first movie was released. So that's just an idea I had a while
Uh,
ago. I think it'd be really cool to have a show about Kylo Ren. I would
yeah.
definitely
No,
watch that.
that's a cool idea. Yeah. I'd love to see some more stuff with like Mace Windu too. I'm still waiting for it.
Yeah. Yeah, like 20 years later, literally.
Because you have him with this purple lightsaber, which Samuel L. Jackson, he just really wanted a purple lightsaber. But then I don't know if it was George Lucas, but they give this whole backstory to like purple lightsabers are given to those that have like this understanding of the dark side and the light side and have chosen like the light side. So it's like, what is his understanding of the dark side and like what experiences has he had? And I think it would be really cool.
I think it has to do with lightsaber forms, which is kind of martial arts forms. In
okay,
martial
gotcha.
arts, I did Taekwondo for 2 years a while ago. And with a form is basically like where like you're supposed to memorize steps and movements.
Yeah.
And with the type of lightsaber form that Mace Windu knows, which very rare Jedi do, is he knows a specific form that utilizes dark side a lot, or that are kind of aggressive because the dark side's a little bit aggressive.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons why.
Gotcha.
It's one of the reasons why he can like utilize both the light and the dark. Although if like Anakin were to use the same movements or methods, I think the Jedi were worried that he would fall to the dark side, which it's interesting. I just want to get into depth real quick.
Yeah.
That the Jedi were so concerned that Anakin Skywalker was going to fall to the dark side that he fell to the dark side anyways. I feel like that to me is like whatever you choose to focus on, it will grow. Whatever a person fixates on, whether it be good or bad, it will happen. If someone's having continuous anxiety about like an impending doom or future, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, which happened to Anakin Skywalker. Although if you twist that or change that and think of like, you know what, I'm going to become this kind of person later down the road who honors and respects and loves people, then you will focus on things that help you lead to that path. I think Obi-Wan is a very good example, and also Qui-Gon Jinn, of being the best Jedi ever, because they were focused on getting the mission done and also protecting the people that were around them. I think that's why they made the best Jedi duo.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it's interesting. And also that's a quote from Qui-Gon Jinn, is like, whatever is your focus becomes your reality. And I've seen a lot of people quote that, and it's a very good quote. And George Lucas is writing for you.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Yeah, and I've heard like people say like, would Anakin not fall if Darth Maul hadn't killed
Qui-Gon Jinn?
Qui-Gon Jinn, yeah. I was like, Liam Neeson.
Yeah, Liam Neeson.
Because like Qui-Gon saw this potential within Anakin, and like I think he believed in him even more, definitely at first, even more than Obi-Wan did. Like when Obi-Wan started training him, he kind of saw him just as like this punk kid, someone who has potential but always is getting into trouble and stuff. And Qui-Gon, his ways are more like unorthodox than most Jedi. And I think it would have been interesting to see like the trio of them like training together if they would have had that opportunity. But yeah, it is an interesting thing because they're like, no, you can't be a Jedi Master. And they're just like set upon that it just causes him to go to the dark side. And also how they weren't listening to anyone who was saying like that Palpatine was a threat, that the Chancellor was a threat, and like that there was things that were going on. They were kind of too caught up in like their own self-glory and like that they're the Jedi and they're so great that like nothing could take them down, and that was kind of their downfall. It was like their hubris, their pride, that they couldn't see the evil right in front of their face.
Yeah. Have you read the book Darth Plagueis?
No, but I've heard about Darth Plagueis, and
I got it from the library on Libby, and it's probably one of the best Star Wars books that I've ever listened to. It goes in depth on like the plot to destroy the Jedi and the Republic, because what you were just describing, it's true that the Jedi, they had this great hubris. They were so focused on the little things, stepping over hundreds of dollars to get pennies. They were focused on like just the little things to keep their power in a way. And in a way, they were definitely falling to the dark side. But the greatest threat was Palpatine created an artificial war, and he pressured the Jedi to make
Yeah.
bad choices. And what he also did, and a lot of people diss on Palpatine because they think, oh, he's just a laughing maniac. No, he was able to convince one of the most best Jedi ever to fall to the dark side. Two Jedi fall to the dark side, Dooku and Anakin. He completely collapsed the entire Republic, created artificial war, and ends a lot of the Clone Wars episodes. He took over more and more of the government. There's an episode where there's a lot of plots that he's done where like he creates corruption on Mandalore. He takes control of the banking clan. He then tries to think of a way to steal Jedi Force sensitive younglings. And there's a lot of like things that lead up to Revenge of the Sith that he does. There's a really good video on YouTube called Emperor Palpatine is the Goat. I think that's what it's called. And it's a really good video essay. It's like 20 minutes long. It's by a YouTube channel called So Uncivilized. The YouTube channel is called So Uncivilized. And the video essay about Emperor Palpatine, why he's actually the best villain ever. Because he was
Interesting.
he was able to, the narrator is talking about like Emperor Palpatine is like if today the Mongolian Empire, because like the whole idea is Revenge of the Sith come back and take over everything. And it's like as if the Mongolian Empire today came back and said like, yeah, we're taking over the world. And we're like, what the heck?
Yeah, like something
like,
far back in history.
Yeah, because in episode 1, Yadi Mundi says the Sith have been extinct for a millennium, which is 1,000 years. To the random galactic citizen, they're like, I've never heard of the Sith. I don't know who they are.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So it's interesting how like just this cult was able to like have such a grudge to come back 1,000 years later and just completely upset society and things like that. It's really interesting. There's dozens of great videos out there that talk about Star Wars, but like it's a reflection of I don't want to get too political, but like we have to be really careful on who we support publicly. We have to be aware of like our history as well, like the fall of the Roman Republic, which became an empire and things like that. What George Lucas was trying to tell us was that people can easily be swayed to our own dark sides, our own maladaptive behaviors, become not the best versions of ourselves. But yeah, it's interesting. All of Star Wars is really good. The George Lucas amazing part of Star Wars, where like it's in depth and the characters learn and grow from their mistakes.
Thank you all so much for listening. See you guys next time. Peace. Good times are ahead, so grab a nice hot bowl of ramen, some chopsticks, and join in on the discussion every month.